Welcome to Bits About Books, the home for conversations with authors of breakthrough books on sales, marketing, and business. I am your host, Shubhanjan Sarkar, founder of Pitchling, the next generation buyer-seller engagement platform, where our mission is to make buying easy. Our guest today is no stranger to Bits About Books, and this is his third outing on the show. Welcome, Fred Copestake, as we speak about his third book, Ethical Selling: How to Win More Business by Doing the Right Thing.
You know, I have my finger on the pulse. It's my job to do this as to where are we going with it. And it just seems that the progression, the shift, the move we're making is towards ethical selling. So it's kind of like, well, again, let's try to codify that and let's make it practical. Because when people talk about it, they tend to go off into principle and philosophical and moral, and salespeople are like, well, that's not useful to me. I want to know what I can do tomorrow. How do I prospect? How do I talk to a customer?
Fred Copestake is founder of Brindis. Over the last 25 years, he has traveled around the world 14 times, visiting 38 countries, working with 10,000 salespeople. Using this to understand the challenges salespeople face, he has taken what makes a difference in modern selling and explored this in his book, Selling Through Partnering Skills. These ideas form the basis of his work with sales professionals involved in complex B2B sales to develop their approach and ensure it is up to date and has maximum impact. Aware of the unprecedented speed of change in the world of sales, his second book, Hybrid Selling, he addressed how salespeople can adapt and evolve their approach to avoid becoming irrelevant. This quickly went to number 1 on Amazon after its launch. Fred's third and latest book is Ethical Selling, which we are here to talk about today. He also hosts the popular Sales Today podcast. When Fred is not delivering training to UK or international clients, he can be found enjoying rugby, cricket, and time with his wife and cats. Now, on to this insightful episode with Fred Copestake. Fred, welcome back to Bits About Books. I'm thrilled to have you back for the third time.
Third time, yeah. Third time lucky.
Third time is a charm. No. I mean, yeah. I think you have been extremely prolific in actually writing down what you do, and that's quite remarkable actually, because people do that sporadically, but not you.
I guess it's kind of an evolution of me, has been kind of the evolution of selling, if you like, and sort of the natural progression, perhaps a better word, if you like. In that, you know, when I first wrote the book, Selling Through Partnering Skills, it was I'd seen that this is the way I think we're going, and kind of, right, let's try to capture that somewhere, let's put it somewhere, and then we've got it that we can refer back to, we can reuse. Came out in COVID, didn't it? and I sat and watched all the Netflix and everything else. And I watched Tiger King. You know, when I got to the end of Tiger King, I thought, come on, Fred, stop it. Do something better, because the world's changing. Sales world is changing too. That's why I wrote a second book. And, you know, I have my finger on the pulse. It's my job to do this as to where are we going with it. And it just seems that the progression, the shift, the move we're making is towards ethical selling. So it's kind of like, well, again, let's try to codify that and let's make it practical. Because when people talk about it, they tend to go off into principle and philosophical and moral, and salespeople are like, well, that's not useful to me. I want to know what I can do tomorrow. How do I prospect? How do I talk to a customer? How do I write proposals? So yeah, that's kind of where I went with that.
So when did you decide that this book has to be written?
It would be, so it came out end of 24. It's probably middle of 24. So I wrote it fairly quickly. That's one thing when you're writing the third, you sort of learn how to write, if that makes sense. You know, you've got the writing sort of habit, you know, 5 o'clock every morning, 1 hour, that's the time, bang, then nothing else, leave it. The structure of the book, the things I'm trying to say, 2 of the chapters are based on two of the other books, so they were easy to write. And so, yeah, it would have been around then. And I wanted to get it done quickly.
Why did you think that this was the right time? What sort of prompted that? Okay, middle of 2024, this is the time I need to sort of focus on the ethical selling piece.
I think it's this speed of change that I've alluded to already, that kind of, the pandemic hit us and stuff started to change, but the speed of change has seemed to get quicker. And, and I'm looking around and customers are further down the buying process and all these things that people love quoting. But it's just also that people are just fed up with salespeople not being very good. Now, very good as in very skilled, because they don't bring any value, but actually very good in that they're a little bit salesy still. And there are certain parts where it's considered good practice. It's like, let's just hold this up and say, look, it's not the smartest way to operate. This is. A lot of people are already in this camp. I am preaching to the converted in many cases.
Yeah,
I know that. I'm not trying to change people. And some people won't change anyway, because they probably think I'm an idiot writing it. And so it just kind of like, well, let's get the damn thing out there and sort of have something which we can reference and use.
So tell me, when you were working with your customers, I'll come to this mini series of interviews that you did. We'll talk about that in a bit. But when you're working with your customers who are essentially sales teams selling to others, right?
Yeah.
Did you hear this enough, or did you hear this often that our customers are getting bothered about the lack of ethics in sales teams? Did you hear that as a feedback?
Not as such. I don't think they would have used those words. Our customers are saying we're not ethical enough.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's sort of, we're struggling to do this. This is something that, it's become a bit of an issue. It's harder to get in through the door earlier. Yeah. And it's sort of like, okay, let's step back and let's think why that is. And it's, well, there's so much more information around. People are in some ways less trusting. They don't want to be sold. They're too busy. And so it's my job to kind of make the interpretation, isn't it? And go, right, okay, well, how are we fixing that? Well, we've kind of fixed that by being more collaborative. That's book one. But if you can't get that message out and demonstrate that's how you are, so let's just kind of think, how can we repackage that slightly in that you can demonstrate, no, this is the way that I operate. This is what I do. So the ethical selling piece, it's actually good, solid best practice, to be fair. That's what it is. It's
right.
I deliberately didn't go, like I said, into principles and morals and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Who am I to dictate that anyway?
Yeah.
But if I go, do you know if you lead with a flaw and you are very transparent, that will build trust faster and you will have better conversations. It's a tactic. If you listen to people better and ask more intelligent questions, that will help them make more sense of stuff and that will work better. And that's a tactic. So I sort of took what the tactics are, but say, look, but you can use them in this way and frame them in this way.
Right. How did you scope out the book? I mean, you have it's a 170-page book. It's not a trivial size, right? How did you go about doing that? Was it like a one-shot thing, or was it?
No. So if you mean the structure, so the structure that I've worked with before, it just makes sense to me. It's kind of like calling out the problem, giving the solution, and then how can you actually implement this and sort of take it and really use it? Bit like sales, really, isn't it? It's that, and talk about the problems in general to kind of give people the oomph, the nudge, and the reason why they would want to start thinking like this. And then I like thinking models, so kind of I like a framework, so sort of 7 parts that if you concentrate on these things, then that will make a difference. So those 7 parts are then broken into some tactics. 3, 4 is usually a good number. And then the implementation piece at the end, it's kind of a quiz around those 7 parts, some advice on how you do it. So yeah, a little bit formulaic, but it kind of works. Works for me anyway.
Right. So did you at the same time start the mini series of interviews, which I think would have contributed part of what we have in the book?
You mean the podcast, my own podcast?
Yeah.
I did. So they were kind of research. They were research. It was sort of right. I know what I think I'm trying to say, and I know why I think that's probably a good idea. Let's check this. I'm in a blessed position where I know some pretty cool people who know a lot about sales. They've got a ton of experience. They've got some wonderful opinions. Yeah. So I was able to call on them and kind of do those interviews. So create content, which is great, but actually use that to put some stuff into there. So yeah.
Right. And was there any surprise in that? I mean, like you had an assumption, you go in with assumption for interview, and then you figure, this may not be that way.
Not really. Then maybe I just confirmed my own bias. Why would I talk to anybody that doesn't want to agree with me? That'd be a ridiculous idea. It's so stupid. No, but not so much surprise, but probably delight at the sort of the richness of the extra information and the sort of the amount of stuff that they could give, which just made the whole thing kind of better, if you like.
Right. Got it. Let's get to the book. Why? I mean, see, one side we are discussing this rapid change in sales, right? Ethics seems like going backwards, so to say, conceptually. Ethics never went away. Ethics was always there, but we didn't follow that, right? Why do you think that situation where, that poll which says that salespeople and politicians are the least trusted and so on and so forth? I mean, you all know about all that, right?
Yeah, every year.
What brought us here, actually? That's the question.
I think it's people trying to be too clever. As in, let's use this tactic, let's use this tactic. Like, people get so wrapped up in new tactics, and we love new shiny things, and as human beings, we like to think that we've got a clever way in which we can probably do, something. Yeah. And I think we just probably got carried away with some of that stuff, and then lost sight of actually. But some of the basic, decent kind of almost obvious ways of working, they're not unsexy. They're very, very sexy because they probably work better than all this effort we're putting in to these kind of silly ways of doing stuff. So it was kind of pulling it back. Yeah, you're right. There's not much which is massively new. We just understand, bringing back the understanding to things that work.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of ignored it, thinking that it's not necessary. Yet we know how important it is in the changing scenario.
Yeah, maybe we just don't push things too far. And when you push things too far and you sort of get away with it a little bit, and then, or like an elastic band, imagine you get an elastic band and you sort of pull it. You can stretch it. And it snaps, doesn't it? Boom. And maybe we've done that a little bit. We pulled until it's suddenly like, no, it snapped. Come on, stop it. And you know what, salespeople, we don't need you as much because you're not helping us make sense of stuff. There's a ton of information out there. We're going to do our own thing. You made this rod for your own back. You snapped your own band.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We need to get back into the fray by showing people this is how we go about doing stuff.
Right. Would you hazard a guess as to how many salespeople today are actually at a personal level concerned about being an ethical seller vis-a-vis not?
I don't think they'd use those words. No, and again, when I had to call a book something and kind of ethical selling, maybe that kind of I think it's had enough gravitas, and it maybe doesn't work in people kind of go, ethics. Well, I am ethical. Of course, I'm ethical. And people go, no, I'm not. Why would I be? Like I said, I'm not going to try and convince them. What I do when I'm sort of translating that is, sort of say, at its most basic level, it's about win-win-win. And people go, well, I know two of those already. What's the third? So you're right. So it's win for the customer. Now, let's not lose sight of that. That is what we're doing. Yeah, win for your company, but make sure you got to win for your own conscience. Yeah, so the way in which you are going about doing stuff, you're comfortable. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I've actually done this in a decent way. I'm an honest, open person. I've done it with great integrity, and it's worked better. And I keep coming back to that. It works better. So I kind of dodged the question a little bit. How many would say, I am concerned about my ethics? Probably none. Well, silly book to write, really. But when you but I had to call it something and have it there and position it, and people go, actually, yeah, I kind of get that a bit more now. Yeah, okay, let's get in and let's kind of use it as a bit of a sense check.
Right, got it. So let's get to the book. So let's define what you mean. What do you mean when you say ethical selling? What is it?
Like I've said there, win-win-win. Yeah, win for customer, win for company, win for your conscience. That is the way that you set yourself up to go about doing stuff. So the way in which you're engaging your customers, you're representing your company, and you're aligning to your own values. So you're not twisting yourself out of shape and then really not enjoying life because it is too short. I had some other big realizations about that. So yeah, it's that simple. I've deliberately done that. And like I've said this a couple of times already, it's not about being moralistic, high principled, going off and, if people are just listening to this, can't see my hands, I'm kind of putting them above my head and going off up into the clouds. It's not that, because salespeople don't want that. They're not going to read that. They can't use that. They won't make sense of that. So it's like, right, it's doing this stuff, boom, 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 that's going to achieve these three things. Let's have a look at what those are. Bang. So like the tactics that we're talking, and they are tactics. I had a big argument with somebody about this, actually. Ethical selling shouldn't be tactical. I said it has to be tactical. Absolutely tactical. Otherwise it's conceptual and nobody will make any sense of it. Yeah. Apart from people like us who like navel gazing. They need tactics, bang, 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 bang. Do these things and you will sell more. And the way you sell it more, you'll be happier with yourself. The customer will be happy with you. The company will be happy because they'll be making money too. All happy. Win-win-win.
Right. So before we get into the framework, in one of the chapters, you talk about the myths about ethical selling.
Yeah.
So let's touch upon that before we actually get into the tactics and the strategies and the frameworks that you have there.
Again, I've alluded to them already. It's the Goldilocks dilemma, I call it. Again, I like keeping stuff super simple. Now, I've realized we need to keep stuff simple for people to be able to get their heads around it. I've been too complex in the past, got lost in my own stuff. Goldilocks principle, Goldilocks, 3 bears. She sits down, the porridge, too hot, too cold, just right. Yeah. That translates into it's too hard. Yeah, so ethical selling is too hard. We'll have to do a ton more training. We'll have to learn new processes. There'll be new frameworks. There's new ways of thinking. There's different mindsets. It's going to be a complete overhaul. Everything is going to be difficult. Not true. You're probably doing a ton of this stuff already. We're just going to be more conscious about it. Maybe shift out some things. Maybe add in some other things. It's not too hard. Too soft. Yeah. We're going to be passive. We'll become pushovers. We're going to have to give a ton of margin away. Yeah. We'll kind of not have any backbone. Yeah. No, not true. Look at challenger sale, for example. Yeah. Good salespeople are able to challenge customers. You're able to have robust conversations. You'll push back on them. Yeah. You have to make margin. Otherwise, you won't be around to service them in the future. Yeah. You will negotiate. Yeah. Negotiate in a decent way, but you've got to get your win as much as companies, the customers win. So it's not about being soft. It's not this kind of goody two shoes type thing, which some people might start to think. We're all become like monks. No, those are myths. There is a just right in the middle, and you're probably doing a lot of this stuff already. Most likely, because you're still a business.
So if you have to define it as a model, the ethical model, what would it be beyond the win-win-win mantra?
So the ethical model, ETICAL, because I am a very literal person, as you know. Yeah. What's in there? Basically, so it's about empathetic communication. Yeah. Empathize. We can put ourselves in someone else's shoes. We can understand what's going on from their side. What are they trying to achieve? We can ask good questions and really kind of listen to what they say. Recognize that. Transparency and integrity. Open, honest. Tell people if it's not right. Yeah. And build trust through that. Yeah. H is holistic value. So holistic value creation, understanding value, how that works. Customer defines it. It's like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. There are ways in which we can go around understanding what value means to them. Some people can take this to great depths. More complex to sell, more sophisticated, more we need to do that. But there are some basics. ETHI. Informed decision making. Okay, giving people the right amount of right information that they need, not pushing them. Yeah. So that kind of, the pushy ABC, always be closing type sale. Creating buyer safety. Yeah. So not giving that freedom of choice is an important part. Yeah. That's where some people might struggle a little bit. It's like, oh, I won't tell them that. No, tell them. That's still part of building the truth. ETH. Where are we? I see collaborative relationship building. Oh, I wrote a book on that. that chapter, bang, that was easy. Yeah, that actually wasn't, because I had to cross down a book into one. But yeah, it's about thinking like a partner, collaborating in the way we work. We work together alongside. We try to solve problems alongside each other rather than we're trying to manipulate and force you into buying something. A is adaptive negotiation. So yeah, I mentioned negotiation. So it's, how do we adapt? How are we using our negotiation skills to search out, the win-win and get this agreement, using some of the techniques which have been popular in the past. So I talk about Harvard principles. A lot of people love the Voss stuff. There's some good things in there. I don't like some of the stuff either, but hey, me. But how can we bring that together so we can adapt and we can make these conversations work? L is about learning and growth. Constantly learning, constantly, this growth mindset, trying to get better and better and better so we can be better at our job for ourselves, our company, and our customers. That's the model that's in those seven chapters.
Right.
Like I said, with tactics, with techniques, tools of how to actually do that. How to.
It's time for a short break. Stay with us. After the break,
if this is the most important thing to you, then we probably aren't going to be the right solution. Yeah. But if this, and this are, then absolutely, look, this is where we should be talking. That's a way of kickstarting the transparency in the conversation.
Yeah.
Now, the good thing about this is if that really is the most important thing and they don't need the other stuff, well, you can qualify out straight away. Yeah. What you would probably be doing, though, is that you've already got a bit of a feeling, or that these other things are important to people. So when you say that, they're going to go, well, no, we do need those other things. But they're thinking, that's quite refreshing that a salesperson has said that. We don't see that very often.
You are listening to a Business Podcast Network original. Podcasting is the fastest growing content marketing opportunity, which is untapped. We can help you craft your audio strategy and help leverage the wide reach and easy streaming capability that the smartphone penetration provides. It is easy, it is powerful and personal. Talk to us to find out how podcasting can help you build your brand and reach out to your targets like never before. Write to us at bpn@bizcast.in. That is bpn@bizcast.in. Business Podcast Network. Podcasts end to end.
Welcome back. I'm Shubhanjan Sarkar, your host for Bits About Books and founder of PitchLink, the buyer-seller engagement platform. Let's dive right back into the episode where we left it. So tell me, do you see, when you are sort of teaching the framework, do you see, for the lack of a better word, a pushback to being transparent? Because at some level, the customers are not necessarily transparent to you as a salesperson. The customers are not really putting all the cards on the table, and they use it as a bargaining chip, whichever way. I'm not getting into the merits and demerits of that. Do you see that being transparent can have a challenge in actually implementing the transparency as an idea? And do you see any sort of pushback from the salespeople saying, conceptually it's great. I want to be transparent. I want to be trustworthy, but my customer may not be transparent with me. So what do I do?
It takes two to tango, doesn't it? Yeah. And you can set the tone. Someone's got to kind of lay out, this is the way we're going to do stuff. Right. So somebody's got to go first. Someone's got to blink first. Now, if we're even thinking like this, our mindset isn't right, is it? We're still competing with each other.
Yeah.
Not even consulting, we're not collaborating. When my thinking around transparency has been massively flavored by Todd Capone. He's written the book, The Transparency Sale, which is brilliant. He's a great thinker around this stuff. So yeah, big shout out to him. And an easy way to get people to start to get their heads around it, because look, we have to link transparency to trust, and everyone says, well, you want to be trusted, don't you? Oh, yeah. Well, you have to do this stuff. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, you're not going to be trusted then. Yeah. But some of the tactics, he talks about this tactic of lead with a flaw. Yeah. FLAW, the fault.
Yeah.
Which is it's saying something like, look, if this is the most important thing to you, then we probably aren't going to be the right solution. Yeah. But if this, and this are, then absolutely, look, this is where we should be talking. That's a way of kickstarting the transparency in the conversation. Yeah. Now, the good thing about this is if that really is the most important thing and they don't need the other stuff, well, you can qualify out straight away. Yeah. What you would probably be doing, though, is that you've already got a bit of a feeling, or that these other things are important to people. So when you say that, they're going to go, well, no, we do need those other things. But they're thinking, that's quite refreshing that a salesperson has said that. We don't see that very often. Okay, the way this person's operating. Yeah, I like the cut of the jib here. Yeah, let's go. So you can use that as a technique and frame that, and say shout out to Todd for teaching me that one. Early doors, so that people can start to get it, and then right, and then the conversation starts to flow, and then people share back, and then they share, and then share, and it becomes a virtuous circle. Right. Rather than a vicious circle where we're going to spiral down and not trusting each other and not giving you information and kidding ourselves that we're actually going to work together.
Right. So from your experience, how easy is it to get, I know this is a book you wrote long back, but how easy is it to get a B2B customer, obviously I'm talking about B2B scenarios, to come into this collaborative mode? How long does it take for the trust to form? I mean, of course, tactically, I do this, I lead with a flaw, I do all of that, but that may or may not be enough. How long, according to you, does it take for a customer to sort of come to a conclusion that I think I can deal with this guy because he appears to be more open and...
How long is a piece of string? It's 3 months, 14 days usually. That's what I find. Can you imagine if I gave that answer? I'd be like, God, Fred, you lie easily. No, it's hard. I think the answer would be that it's faster if they're doing some of the things that we know are able to indicate, that you can use to indicate that this is the way that you operate. Yeah. That isn't going, hey, nice to meet you. I'm a trusted advisor,
Yeah.
Great. Say that if you want to. That is not your title to put on yourself. Yeah. The customer bestows that. So you can do things that very quickly gets them to realize that this is the kind of person that I want to work with. The stuff that they're doing, and whether this is conscious or unconscious is a different thing, but the way that they're doing stuff, this is where I can put my time and effort. Their time. They're going to decide whether they're going to be wasting time or not. Yeah. Calling out their problems. I was talking to a group about this yesterday, actually. And they're like, shouldn't we just be telling them how great we are? Like, well, no. Because that's what everyone does, and customers don't care. But when you say, well, I reckon that people in your world are probably experiencing this, this, and this, like, whoa, you get me. You've done some research. You understood us. You're more like us. I'll warm to you. Yeah. Asking more questions, being genuinely curious. Not, I've got a checklist here. Got to do a bit of bant. Yeah. I'll ask 4 questions. That'll do. Genuinely, tell me more. Okay. Going into stuff and adding value in the conversation, in the sort of the interactions that we have. Not the solution has added value. That's something, yes.
Yeah.
But a conversation finishes, you leave and they think, God, that was good. That really made me think. Or I'm so much clearer on that now. That was so useful. When we're doing things like that, and then look, they are techniques, there's ways you can learn to do this. That is when we're going to get to that point that, you know, I'm going to work more with this person, I'm going to collaborate with them. I feel as though we have got a decent relationship here. And that's not about being best mates or anything.
Right.
This relationship is when we're trying to sort this stuff, that's who I'm going to go to, because they not necessarily have the answer. They get us to the answer. So,
Right.
long way around saying, you can't put a time frame on, but you can make it faster.
No. I mean, my question was more about what do you see is the time frame. It was not about whether, this will be the time frame somebody uses this framework. My thing was that the feedback over the last 1.5 years, what have you seen there? That was more the question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not training pure ethical selling framework.
Yeah.
I'm probably my core one is actually the value framework out of the first book, collaborative selling thing, but it's just, the ethical selling stuff is some of it's come out of that and some of it is pushed into that. But certainly by people doing that, it would happen faster.
Right.
If you don't do it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you're the same as everybody else, and people haven't got as much time. They haven't got the inclination. They haven't got the effort.
Yeah.
But they have got access to all the information that you're trying to build this thing on. They don't need you. So I'm not going to collaborate with you. You don't bring anything to the party. You just walk around like a website. Websites are better at being websites. I'll go there. Yours and your competitors, don't need you. So if you don't do it, you ain't going to be getting any of this in any time frame. If you do, it'll happen faster.
Right. Fair enough. Before we go into, let's talk about the adaptive negotiation piece. What is it? So
another shout out to a guy called Philip Brown that I was doing quite a bit of stuff with. Philip has invented these negotiation cards, and it's all about how you practice negotiation. He is a big fan of practice, it would be fair to say, because his thing is that we all love reading books, and lots of books got plenty of tactics and stuff in it, and loads in negotiation, but no one ever actually practices them, which means you don't use them. So you've read the book, you might have the knowledge, but it never gets implemented because you're not going to pull out that technique in a real life negotiation. Or you do, and it goes horribly wrong because you've understood it sort of conceptually, academically, but not practically. And so he talks about these micro moments where, the conversation, the negotiation is going to take these various paths, and depending what happens at this particular point, we're going there or there, and then that changes, that. And so a good negotiator is able to be picking up on these and can just adapt and just change, and is able to sort of spin in and use the right tactic or say the right words or take it in the right direction. And that's where the concept of the adaptive negotiation thing came from. These micro moments that we can adapt to that time, that moment in time to do the right thing. And those adaptations, those tactics, there's a ton of negotiation tactics, aren't there? Pretty much all can be used ethically and not ethically, or for good and for bad. But it's how do you deploy that in the moment and sort of adapt to what is the right thing to be doing? That's what I was talking about with that.
Yeah.
And look, just from a purely commercial point of view, or from a thinking about the audience, Chris Voss, No Split the Difference book is hugely popular. Tons of people read it. Yeah. Great. Yeah, all people reading books, aren't we? But then the Harvard Principle negotiation, I think is solid. It's kind of what I was brought up on. So it's just like kind of bringing those in and compare and contrast. And hey, I'm agnostic. I could take the best of both worlds and put them into where I think would be working best now.
I think the other thing that it sort of brings out is the need to listen. You mentioned it some time back that the ability to listen is very critical. Most of us have not great skills in that.
Yes.
We are just waiting to sort of plug in what we are thinking, right? So we are not really paying attention to what the customer is saying. So to be adaptive, I think the listening skill becomes absolutely critical, because that's when you see and you can see the nuance changes or the shifts that are happening, right?
Yeah. What's actually happening, not what I want to happen, what I perceive to happen, or I've listened to you said, as you say, there's the levels of listening. There's like the sort of skim listening. I don't really know what's going on.
Right.
Survey listening. I've got a bit of a better idea what's happening, but probably not much more. Active listening is the top end. Salespeople hang out, I think, in search listening.
Yeah.
I am searching for you to say the thing that I want you to say so that I can go, oh, well, imagine you saying that. I have this solution for you. Well, right. Well, guess what? And we've got to kind of get past that into the active to be able to respond and adapt the active to be able to adapt in the moment. Yeah. But we all think we're better listeners. Everybody I'd asked, I said, do you think you're above average listener? Everyone has said yes. I'm not a brilliant mathematician, but everybody can't be above average, can they?
Yeah. So what do you think could be the biggest challenges in actually adapting this process?
The whole ethical selling framework, the whole ethical model.
Yeah.
We've touched on it already again in the myths, and it's something that's too hard, it's too much of a change, we're going to have to unpick everything we've ever done. And by doing that's too hard. And by doing that, we might lose business or give away margin or not be competitive, whatever. There's hard and soft, myths. It's that perception. That's why that's the first part of the book. It's to say, look, don't fall into that trap. It's not true. It really is going to help you sell better. So the biggest challenge is probably just giving it that initial little piece of brain space, that initial consideration. And that's why I'm so thankful for people like you who invite me onto podcasts so I can sort of champion the cause a little bit. They might hear a part of this. It might even be the short, a clip, something, and go, oh, what was that? Let me just go into it and sort of go into the sort of bit more depth and go, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. That's a bit obvious. Is that bloke really written a dead obvious book? Yeah, to a degree. I've just tried to make it dead easy and accessible for people to do probably what they're doing a hell of a lot of. So the biggest challenge will be just that initial, just give it a little bit of thought.
I think that makes total sense, because I also understand while salespeople are under the pressure of delivery and quota and this and that, I don't think anybody enjoys the point that I'm not being respected by the other person on the other side of the table, right? And whether it's being expressed or not, that's not the point. But this also gives, although you say that we are not putting a moral framework to this, we are not, but I think it also does a lot of good to the self-esteem of sellers if they think of adapting this.
Yeah, dead right. Again, go back to the wins, the 3 wins. It's the conscience, the win for your conscience. You're aligned to your values. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit idealistic. Most people are kind of decent and want to do a decent job and want to be helpful and want to serve.
Yeah.
A lot of people fall into sales. A lot of people probably go, actually, no, I want to go into sales. Why? Because I like getting paid to talk to people. I like helping people, and they want to do that. And they do get pissed off with the kind of sales is sleazy, sales is slimy, you report, the kind of that stigma. And look, there are people like that, and part of it's deserved. I don't think we help ourselves at the moment. We still do ridiculous stuff that is going to wind people up. And AI ain't helping with this. And we're just like, the people who are doing the stupid stuff can now do it even bigger and faster. She's like not helping everyone else who are going, hang on, we're trying to make this a bit more personal and human and proper, and you're just cranking up this thing. But I think you can sort of go and go, I do this job and I'm happy about it. And whether that's the sort of the I'm changing and elevating the profession and all this stuff, which I've not that I don't want to do it, it's just I don't think we need to say it as much. We can just go, you know what, I had a decent day today. Did a decent day's work, looked myself in the mirror. Yeah, it's aligned to how I am. Yeah, life ain't too bad. That's motivational. That's the intrinsic motivation. So from a sales leader's point of view, again, how do we motivate people? Pizzas, go-karting, ping pong tables, I don't know, whatever it is you do. No, it's when they're aligned to what they're like as a person. And so actually doing some of this stuff, now the intrinsic motivation starts to kick in. Yeah, the intrinsic motivation, which is there anyway, you don't motivate people, you create the engaging environment. Well, actually, that's part of doing that. So we can have people sort of work at their optimum by doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Bits About Books is brought to you by PitchLink, the buyer-seller engagement platform. PitchLink makes buying easy by enabling high-quality engagement between buyers and sellers through its presentation and discussion modules. Sellers create customized sales narratives using sales collaterals and personal videos and reach out to prospects through a non-intrusive, buyer-qualified engagement. PitchLink requires no installation or download and holds the entire repository of sales collaterals and buyer-seller conversations. Talk to us to know more about how you can engage with customers without intrusion. Call us on 99021 631 32.
Well, Fred, this was a very interesting, although delayed discussion. We should have had this some time back, but I'm glad that we could make it. And what's the next book?
I'm never going to write another book is what I said after I finished this one. And I don't know if you know, there's a famous British Olympian, Sir Stephen Redgrave, who says, if anyone sees me go near a boat again, you can shoot me. Right? It's probably trust first selling. And you're the first person I've told that. which is actually, it's a bit of a rewrite of two books. It's crashing two books together, actually. Yeah. It's taking the ethical selling book and it's taking selling through partnering skills, collaborative selling, and rewriting it and probably refining the language to cover all sorts of sellers. Because basically I've realized I speak to B2B. I speak to professional salespeople. Yeah. And that's fine. But more and more mates of mine who sell as part of their job. Yeah. So some of them might be salespeople because they work in car trade. But others, they're not really salespeople, but they do a bit of selling. They run their own business, for instance. Yeah, and some people have kind of got a tiny bit of sales and just really don't want to do it. So so we've got the professional sellers, but then we've got the kind of the dual role sellers and then the accidental or the reluctant sellers. And I've got most mates, I've got nothing to give them because how can you help us? I'm like, actually, that's really corporate, this stuff that I do. For them, it's too much. It's too sophisticated sales. So smash them together and sort of rewrite it and shorten it and make the language simpler and sort of less businessy, if you like, in the sales business, and sort of do that. So yeah, that could be the next one. In fact, it probably is because it's open on my computer now while we're talking.
I can keep it out of the podcast if you want. I mean,
no, that's fine. I've made myself do it now.
That's a good one. Okay. Fred, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward for the next one. But thanks so much. This was wonderful.
No, thank you. Thank you for asking such cool questions. A bit different to some of the other ones that I've had, and it's really helped me explore some stuff as well. So yeah, it has been a valuable conversation in the form of the ones that we've spoken about for me. So yeah, I'm leaving it go now. It's great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have a fantastic lineup over the next couple of episodes with great conversations on breakthrough books. Subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you do not miss a single episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being with us today on Bits About Books, where we talk to authors about breakthrough books on sales, marketing, and business. We hope this conversation helped inform and motivate as we all navigate a rapidly changing business environment. For us, these are enlightening conversations enriched with knowledge and expertise. We encourage you to go out and buy the book to learn firsthand and implement some of the great ideas we discussed today. We hope to have you with us again in the next exciting episode of Bits About Books. If you liked what you heard, Subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast platforms like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast from, and give us a rating while you are at it.
This Bizcast original podcast is produced for PitchLink, the next generation buyer-seller engagement platform, where the mission is to make buying easy. Hosted by Subhanjan Sarkar and produced by Rajiv Aditya. See you next time and have a wonderful day.